Good morning, all the participants, and
And
I
you,
welcome you to the third day of Virtual Symposium on REACH. Welcome, Dr. Inbakandan. Can you hear me now?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think your network is having some
Yes.
problem, Anu. Is it okay with your side, Anu?
Yes, sir. You can. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can't hear me, sir.
Some break in the voice breakage is there. Okay,
Now,
start please. Yeah.
yes. Good morning, participants, and I warm welcome all you to the third day on the recent trends in aquaculture industries. And I welcome Dr. Inbakandan, Head and Scientist of Center for Ocean Research, Sathyabama University, and today the guest speaker, Mr. Rajamanohar, CEO and co-founder of Aqua Connect India. And the instructions to participant is kindly unmute your audio and disable your video so that the session goes smoothly. And please do not scribble and annotate the screen during the presentation. Shall I go with the introduction part, sir?
Please, Anu.
Thank you. So, regarding Mr. Raja Manohar, he is the CEO and co-founder Aqua Connect India. Raj is the co-founder and CEO of Aqua Connect, a full-stack aquaculture technology venture that aims to improving aquaculture farm productivity and market lineage through artificial intelligence and satellite remote sensing technology interventions. He currently works with over 12,000 plus shrimp and fish farmers in India using AI-enabled predictive tools to help them increase their productivity and profitability. He is an IIT Kanpur alumnus. He also holds diploma from Stanford and Harvard universities. World Economic Forum named him among Young Global Leaders 2012 in recognition of the contribution in the mobile communication services for emerging markets. I take an immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Raja Manohar to give the talk on role of technology in making aquaculture ecosystem resilient 3 RPM model. I welcome you, sir. The session is over to you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anu, for the kind introduction. Can you
Thank
all hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay.
you.
So, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Inba. I am really happy to be among you all and sharing my thoughts and journey. So, as Anu mentioned, like you can call me Raj because my name is a pretty long name. So, it's better if there are international participants, you can always name me Raj. I'm co-founder and CEO of Aqua Connect. Aqua Connect is a full stack aquaculture technology company. So that essentially means that we work with farmers from end to end on the solutions that can be provided to them on end to end spectrum from the seed till the harvest. Even we would be like taking beyond that as we are venturing into the fourth year. What we do is we help them improve the productivity and farm income through technology intervention. Some of the technologies that has been mentioned in this slide are like we are using satellite remote sensing for certain services. We are using machine learning. So largely it is known as like artificial intelligence for some of the predictive analysis in this domain. So I passed out from IIT Kanpur in 2004, and for a couple of years I worked for IT majors, and I have also have experiences of running few startups before. One startup did extremely well, and the other venture didn't do well. So I do have enough experiences of like successes and failures, and I learned a lot from the failures. I would always admit that with pride. So at that point of time, we were providing mobile technology solutions in South Asia and Africa. So I'm one of the few entrepreneurs who ventured into Africa during that 2006 7 during that point of time. So I took a one-way ticket to Kenya, and I was like meeting some of the business partners there because like the whole my fraternity, the startup fraternity, was looking into the Indian market as well as some of the developed market So I was thinking that why not we, try the other way around? Like, why don't we, go into the least explored markets? And that strategy actually really worked well for me. And that is when I got to understand how technology transformation can happen in the bottom of the pyramid. So where there is a very limited, where there is a huge user base, but there is a very limited access for them to technology, right? So some of these learnings have helped me understand the Indian farmer base as well. So I will come about that like in the next few slides. These ventures taught me one or two things about providing solutions to the masses. In 2016, I was in a transition to look for something new and unique venture. So that is when the mobile operators have become like just a data pipe. We were not able to provide any more solutions. So then we thought like we need to be like looking into something new and innovative and unique. So that is when I stumbled upon aquaculture. It was 2016, just 4 years ago, right? So the disclaimer here is I myself a student of aquaculture now. Like there is not much of difference between you and me. It is just that like I'm named as speaker here, so I had to share whatever I have been learning for the past 4 years. So in case if I'm sharing something that where you are an expert, please feel free to interrupt and then share your thoughts. Um, so like the things that I learned like in the past 4 years is something like aquaculture is gaining importance globally. So the sea caught, that is wild caught production is like it is actually growing, but it is in a very single digit, like even in 1% is what is the growth that we see in the wild caught fisheries industry. But aquaculture is gaining double digits. So last year we had a growth of about 16 to 18%. That's a phenomenal growth for any sector. So, and it is also one of the most important part that I liked about Aqua culture is it is the aquaculture is the most sustainable protein production system that I found. If you're talking about any other livestock industry, for growing beef, like 1 kilogram of beef, you have to feed the animal 8 times of that. Like I'm talking about FCR of 1:8, right? Which is highly unsustainable. Imagine you producing 8 kilogram to feed the animal and then getting 1 kilogram out of that. So it is insane, right? So that is when people are now finding out new ideas how to create artificial meat from the plant. That's the new trend that is coming up. So if you're talking about lamb, it is like 1:4. If you're talking about the bird, the broiler chicken that we eat, it is 1:2.5. So when it comes to fish or crustaceans, shellfishes, it is about 1:1.1. So that is when it makes it like really, really interesting and ecologically sustainable as well. So that's when I thought like this is one of an interesting domain where I can use my technology skill set to improve. And there is this another angle towards ocean depletion. Because of overfishing, the ocean resources are depleting. So it is time for us to promote aquaculture. I want to promote aquaculture when it is done right. So if you are like going down south in Tamil Nadu, if you're talking about shrimp farming, it is not actually welcome. It is because the aquaculture is not done right. So people are worried about increasing salinity in their neighboring aquaculture land. So what we need to be doing is sustainable aquaculture rather than just aquaculture by traditional practices. And there is also another angle to it that let's say like if you are going to there is a lot of brackish water potential in India. So and also you can see that there is an increase in groundwater shortage for agriculture, or like even irrigation shortage for agriculture. So potentially all these people who are like engaged in the agricultural livelihood, they are migrating into the urban cities as laborers, migrant laborers. They would be like working in construction industry. They would be working in some other service industry, right? So imagine if there is already salinity increase in your land. Why don't we actually make it resilient? We can change agricultural land which are like non-arable. I'm talking about non-cultivable land. So we would be able to change those infrastructure or resources into an aquaculture potential land. For we can improve that land use as aquaculture lands. So that is when it gets even much more importance that we will be able to create livelihood around this business when it is done right. I always support aquaculture when it is done right. Um, so India, I mean, if you're talking about the Indian market potential, India produces low value fishes for domestic consumption and high value shrimps for exports. So we are in 2007, we became the largest exporter of frozen shrimp. We got about $5 billion worth foreign exchange. So we are talking about 40,000 crores of foreign exchange that we got from only one species, that is like frozen Vanami shrimp. And we produce close to 12 to 13 billion dollar worth freshwater fishes through aquaculture. So that puts it together like we are producing close to 20 billion worth of shrimp and fishes. We are the second largest producer of fishes in the world. So imagine the potential that this industry is having, and the livelihood opportunity that it creates. It is creating a direct and indirect um, employment opportunity for about like 10 million people. I'm talking about 1 crore people. That is roughly about 1% of Indian population, right? And in 70% of seafood export revenues come from aquaculture activities, and aquaculture in India has actually evolved as a viable commercial farming practice from the level of traditional backyard activity over the last 3 decades. And the introduction of Vanami has been a turning point. For most of the experts, I don't need to be commenting this point, but I'm just, since you are students, I'm just sharing some of the business overviews of this industry. So when the Vanami was, before Vanami, there was BT, which had a lot of issues with the disease breakout and everything, and output was also lower. So it was a very delicate animal to grow. So that is when this Vanami, which is much more robust formed animal. So it has actually changed the fortune of this industry. So we have a very established value chain of hatcheries, feed mills, and technical support ecosystem that enabled shrimp aquaculture as one of the most popular commercial activities among the coastal Indian states. So the way I stumbled upon aquaculture is very interesting, and it was serendipitous. It was accidental, I would say. I met a farmer 4 years ago, and I know like in Chidambaram, that was my that's my hometown. I know aquaculture is a popular livelihood activity, and also it fetches good returns. Like if you're investing like some 10 lakh rupees per acre, it gets you about 14 to 15 lakhs in 6 months. So I was, jokingly asking this farmer whom I met about like, you must be super rich, right? He said yes until I went broke last year because of diseases. So this is actually was a very awkward silence in that discussion, because I was never intending to ask that question, but I was jokingly asking him, and it was really shocking to see him breaking down in front of me. I could see the tears in his eyes. So see, it was like very awkward, like I shouldn't have opened that discussion, but I did, and the reaction was really unexpected. So this incident had a profound impact on building my company, because I wanted to learn more about why it happened, right? So it is about like, so everyone talks about, okay, there was a disease outbreak, he went broke, and this farmer lost this much of money, right? So it is having a huge impact on farmers' livelihood and life. So that is when I went back after that discussion. Like couple of months later, I was visiting these farms because I was also in a transition to start up a new venture. So my skill sets are from technology, and I had nothing. I had no knowledge about aquaculture at that point of time. So I had to put up some effort to learn what is actually going around. So that is when I started visiting the farms and everything. And I was reading a couple of research papers also. So one such research paper showcased like how inferior in terms of technology adoption in Indian farms. There was a very low tech adoption that is actually impacting farmers uh, farm efficiency as well as profitability. And sometimes it puts them into misery because if you are not able to predict the diseases well in disease outbreaks well in advance, you would run into losses. So uh, pretty much the farm automations that you see, like you can see a farm employee who is using hand feeding this animal, like going around the pond, and he's throwing the feed. He doesn't know when to throw this often, like though they claim that like they they know that when to feed the animal, but unfortunately nobody knows when, because it's just a thumb rule. Like you have to get down to the pond in the morning, feed once, afternoon feed once, and evening feed once, or night sometimes if you had to. So they do not have any grip on the FCR that gets into the pond also. You open up a bag, like after this many days, the feed has to be increased this much. So somebody has given some thumb rule, the feed company perhaps like given them. So this is what I'm talking about. In spite of the multi-billion-dollar matured industry outlook, the aquaculture farmers still follow the age-old farming practices. The lack of scientific farming practices, lower technology adoption, results in higher production cost. So I'll come about why higher production cost is affecting us badly. And then there is a production loss, and also inefficiency in supply chain. Nobody knows what is, it's just a black box. Nobody knows like what is going around in this value chain. Everyone has their own knowledge. The knowledge sits in the silos. It is compartments, right? The farmer doesn't know what the other guys are doing, and the processor would not know what the farmer is doing. And there is a layers upon layers of distribution system which affects the efficiency of this system. So I often heard farmers, equate aquaculture to gambling, right? So sometimes you get money, sometimes you don't. So that is when we thought like there has to be a system that can be enabled so that we can actually start predicting. See, we won't be able to be 100% right about our prediction, but we can get closer to 80% or 90%. Even that can also help farmers to predict and mitigate the risks or losses. Uh, okay. So most of these challenges revolve around these, three, four major category of parameters. So in aquaculture, you need to actually keep up water quality. So there is no, big science around that, but there are about 20 different parameters one has to manage. Imagine a kind of layman. Imagine a farmer who wants to, deciphering all these water quality and coming up with an insight. It's not going to be possible for every farmer. And there is this FCR. So I was talking about aquaculture is one of the most sustainable protein production system. I take back my word, because in India the FCR is 1:2. It is anywhere above 1:7 plus, right? So this is actually having double whammy effect. One, your production cost is going to increase because 60% of production cost goes into feeding the animal. So when you are increasing from 1.3, like you can have 1.3 FCR. Uh, if you're going anywhere above that, you are increasing 40% of feeding cost, and that feed is not eaten by the animal. It is just going to the pond bottom. So this pond bottom is getting, it's collecting a lot of waste, and it is going to create ammonia, and this ammonia is going to affect the health of the animal. right? So it is not ensuring that you throw more feed, they eat and they grow more, right? So this is when we are getting things wrong, and this is getting unsustainable. The growth of the animal also have to be like correlated with the other factors. And one important point which is missing here is like anomaly in animal health. We need to actually take about anomaly, animal health anomaly also. So imagine these are these, four different categories of information, and there are about 50, 60 parameters one has to manage. They're all interrelated. Like water quality might affect animal health, water quality might affect growth, feed intake might affect growth and water quality. So these are all interrelated. So when we are, why do we need artificial intelligence here? So it is just that there are 60 different parameters. The permutation and combination is huge. Like a naked eye cannot, even a technician, a trained technician won't be able to come up with insights. Perhaps like he would be having the experience of 20 years, he would be able to come up with some kind of hypothesis and then insights. But nobody is talking about data here. So they're all talking about what they have learned over the past 20 years. You give the speed to a machine, so the machine can now correlate all these values, and it can come up with we have come up with two models, like that is the Morbi-Morse, that is a feed model, like based on water quality, based on growth, based on FCR, we can arrive at these parameters, optimum parameters. The shrimp is growing better. So this only a machine can actually come up with. So this is when we are using machine learning, which a normal human cannot do. So, and also we have created another model on biomass. So what are the parameters are contributing to the biomass growth? So when we are embedding, when we are constantly collecting this data and giving it to these machines, they are constantly learning it. So you can ask the machine, based on these water quality, feed intake, and growth, tell me what is the right growth path, right feeding pattern. So this is what we are talking about. Like machine learning is not like complex here. I'm talking about very simple stuff. The things that human cannot do, the machines can do. So we are inputting those data to the machine, and it is actually giving us the insights on that. So as I told you, Indian farms have one of the least output capacity in the whole Southeast Asian region. So Indonesia is producing 3 or 4 times per hectare. Our per hectare average production is close to 4 to 7 tons. Their average production is somewhere between 15 to 23. So easily, like they are doing like thrice the output of what we could do. These are all based on like when the farmers could get the scientific can get into the scientific mindset that can deliver a lot of good results for them in terms of reducing the feed wastage, because that's going to reduce the cost of production for them. And also like the output can be increased because of these technology interventions. And also loss also can be mitigated, because now the machine can tell you based on these parameters, this pond had a running mortality, right? And based on these parameters, this pond had WSSP. So your pond is susceptible to have that kind of a disease outbreak, right? So this is now possible. It is just that, in my view, the biggest impediment that I see for any development sector is the lack of data and the lack of data-driven decision-making capabilities. So once you have these two, we'll know what is the problem. See, the moment you know what is the problem, you'll be able to, come up with some kind of a solution. At least we can try coming up with a solution. Imagine if it is a black box and nobody wants to open up, and everybody is talking, I know everything, because there is this, a joke I always tell my, my partners that farmers are already using AI. The AI that I'm talking about is not artificial intelligence. This is anecdotal intelligence. It is something like his neighbor tells a story, and this guy propagating that story, and finally that becomes like truth. And again, this can be contributed to ancestral intelligence also. Every time I walk into a new farm, they'll be saying like, okay, how long you have been in aquaculture? Like I say 3 or 4 years. Then they say like, see boss, like my experience is your age, right? So the problem with that kind of AI is, and ancestral intelligence is, that you don't want to learn new things. You don't want to look into the data. Things are changing, right? So now the disease break, like when the venom was introduced, there was least number of outbreaks, but now there is the outbreaks, disease outbreaks are increasing. So we need to be talking about like how do we use this data effectively and come up with prediction and visibility. So all I'm talking about is transparency, right? So based on this data, we have got this finding. So now it's become much easier. We can have this symposium to discuss it out, like what is actually right and what is actually wrong. Um, so when we talk about the farm automation in India, so this is where like we have got into so far. So I was in Norway like 2 years ago. I was there to study the salmon aquaculture ecosystem. So what you got there is like mind blowing. So salmons have got this lice problem, sea lice problem that would eat up their skin, and it would actually create plethora of diseases because of that. So the farmers often run into losses, and there wasn't any fix found so far. They have been like trying so many technologies. So I was like really fascinated by their offshore cages, and they had these laser shooters for killing the lice. So every cage would have been enabled with a laser shooter, live monitoring cameras. So with this live monitoring cameras, they could identify each and every species with the name. You can name actually one salmon, right? So the technology has gone to that kind of an advanced stages. Even like I'm talking about 2 years ago, not far from now. Um, so they know this feed, this salmon has eaten this much of feed. So they can get into the even individual species and say that whether you have eaten feed or not. So that is the kind of advancement that we could see there, and the technology investment cost is so high. So I do really understand that this is not going to work for in India. We are talking about a shallow, dirty pond of 6 feet deep, 1 acre, and we are talking about small and medium farmers. So it's not actually going to work the same way that it was working in Norway or Scotland or North America. But in terms of somebody has actually annotated that two uh, devices, they are nothing but auto feeders. So auto feeders are nothing but instead of throwing the feed by hand, you can put it in the auto feeder, and it you can time it, and it just throws. And you have got like solar panels for running this auto feeder. So Max, what I have seen is like these are 2 3 innovations that we have seen in the farm side. um, so what I'm wondering is why there is a very low tech adoption. So how are we going to go about this? See, I can talk about artificial intelligence. I can talk about satellite remote sensing and everything, but would it actually reach the people on the ground? So that's my actually question. We started with that kind of a question before we started this venture. So we started AquaConnect in 2017, as I mentioned before, with an aim to improve the farm productivity and market linkage through the technology intervention. We focus on three major interventions: improving the farm productivity and disease management practices through artificial intelligence. We provide market linkage solutions to the aquaculture stakeholders to improve transparency in the supply chain. So when we know what is happening in the production, we would be able to give intelligence to the feed millers. We'll be able to give intelligence to the government on regulatory aspects. We'll be able to give intelligence to the other stakeholders, processors, importers, on traceability, whether this farmer has conducted this farming ethically. So and often, I mean, this is one of the core focus right now we have. Whatever I'm going to say, it is often ignored that the formal financial credit instrument for aquaculture industry is not available, right? Most of these farmers, they go to the local dealers or loan sharks to do to get the credit, right? So what happens is, um, they the feed credit is given, if I'm kind of converting into the regular bank loan and interest rates, it is coming out to be about 60% of annualized interest. So it's kind of it's humongous interest rate on the feed. Farmers often don't realize that just because it is actually added into the feeding cost. So instead of 70 rupees per kilogram, it is now given to you for 76 rupees or 80 rupees. So imagine if I can have CIBIL score for farmer. I'm just talking about not CIBIL, I'm just talking about a general creditworthiness score. Right now, the farmers do not have creditworthiness score. Right now, the farmers do not have risk score. That is why the banks are staying away from the aquaculture industry. Imagine we are talking about $20 billion worth industry, which is 1,40,000 crore Indian rupees, which is a huge industry. But the formal financial institutions are staying away because they always think that it is riskier business. So when there is a risk in the business, what we do first as a technology, what we do first is come up with a risk management solution. How do we actually come up with a risk management solution so that the lenders, financial lenders, can understand how to mitigate their risk. So I will actually go about it in a separate slide for financial inclusion. And so often people come up with the question that, like, we are mired with all these problems. Like, there are lots of challenges in the value chain. So when I'm talking about technology inclusion, I'm not only talking about the upstreams. So usually the upstream is called production hubs, that is in the farms. And there are midstreams and there are downstream technologies. So the upstream technologies are something like what I talked about in Norway, salmon farming, where they have analytics tools which are like lively monitoring live the farms, and then providing inputs on how they can improve the FCR, how they could improve the output. So the midstream is something like the marketplace technologies. Like, how about having an open marketplace, a listing like Cars 24 or something, wherein like you just need to give a call to the marketplace, so they list it, so many other people can bid for it. So this is actually improving farmers' access to marketplace. Many other players can offer better rates. So if you are in a small region in Andhra Pradesh, you will be having like 4 or 5 middlemen to work with you. Imagine if I open up that kind of a market access to the farmer, it's kind of going to be like really a great benefit for them to improve the rates. And the downstream technologies are something like how do we actually improve adoption on the ground. Like, let's say, like, for an example, you do not know where your shrimp is coming from right now. You'll go to the amma meat shop, or you will go to some other uh, local market. It is always like, you do not know where it is coming from. Imagine if we can bring in that kind of a traceability. In one retail market in UK, I have seen that they have come up with a QR code, right? So when you are clicking on that QR code, it tells you from which salmon farm in Norway it has come from. So that's the kind of traceability improvement that we can do. Once you have that kind of a traceability improvement, the salmon that you are selling for 1,000 rupees per kilogram, it goes to 2,000 rupees. It's double, because like now you are giving more convenience to the customers, and you are giving more information to the customer. So your brand is getting a lot of value out of that. So having said everything, so let's talk about our market, how we are going to make our aquaculture market as a less resilient market, right? So to become resilient aquaculture player, you need to be talking about resilient production and resilient producers and resilient marketplace. Without any one of these players, we are not going to make it to the resilience. We are not going to achieve the resilience. So when we talk about resilient production, so we're talking about coming up with aquonomy package of practices. So in agriculture, there is a practice called agronomy. So there are people who are agronomists who will define the package of practices. How do you start it, and when do you have to apply probiotics? When do you have to apply other what would be the feeding pattern for the state and everything. So we need to be coming up with economy practices based on the data that we are getting. It is not about like one size doesn't fit all here. So each pond, based on the data, it will have its own economy practices, and this actually cannot be generated by humans themselves, which has to be automated. So that is when this is actually taking a lot of center stage attention, because to do this, you should be able to digitize your farm data. So we are producing over 9 million metric ton of fish and shrimp. So, and imagine the data that we must be having from this kind of production. Everything goes into the farm ledger. Sometimes the water, all the water quality results that they take, they will just visit it for first time, and then they will be throwing it. And whatever feeding information that they are logging in their farm ledger physically, with one flood or with one rain, that goes away. Imagine if we have that kind of a data for 2 or 3 years, which can do wonders. Really, it can do wonders, because like we will know the entire trend of that a particular disease. We'll know entire trend of where this FCR is going to, what is actually going right and what is going wrong, right? So the foundation for smart farming is the reliable data. So we need to be having reliable data sources, and to do that, we should be able to develop sensing capabilities and real-time analytics. When I'm talking about sensing capabilities, either it can be captured by the IoT, Internet of Things devices. Like you put a sensor into the water, it continuously sends you that data. With that data, you'll be able to make a decision and then do the corrective action for what is going wrong, right? And that is how it's actually helping you improve the pond condition. And this is actually can be done remotely. We need to discuss one big elephant in this model, that is cost of such devices, and how return of investment can be captured by the farmers. So having worked in that kind of bottom of the pyramid market, always I would look into not only I would not be just attracted by the the technology solution, fancy technology solution. It is everything comes down to pricing in these developing market. So you are talking about sensor, whether this sensor would be able to be made at the low cost. So once it is not going to be made, let's not talk about this. This is not going to happen on the ground. So I will now go to the next slide, and I'll talk about the major challenges that we have in the implementation part. So this is a screenshot from our application. So what we are doing here is we are providing a knowledge portal. So we are providing package of practices for the farmers based on whatever data that we are collecting from the farm. So water quality, feed growth, as well as health anomalies in the animal we collected. So in this, if let's say like there is a water quality report that says, water diagnostic report that says pH is high, then we will be showing them what has to be done for that. And if there is a high ammonia level, we will be suggesting what you should be doing to reduce that. You need to reduce the feeding, you need to improve the oxygenation, and also you need to be using certain products if you wish to, right? So this is when we make our revenue. This application is for free, but we will make our revenue through the suggestion of products. So this suggestion of products would be happening through context sensitive, time sensitive. We'll be only throwing these notifications when you have this ammonia problem in your water. And so I discussed this before, that we are taking four important categories of parameters. We are collecting the production data. This is the back end of how the machine learning is working, right? So we are collecting this production data, and the machine is actually creating patterns out of it. And this pattern is now stored as a knowledge. And this knowledge base will be like every time a water quality parameter or growth parameter comes into our system that is marked against this pond, then it will immediately suggest the improvement action based on the knowledge it has got. So now this knowledge is the one that is acting like a technician. So this technician exactly know about your pond. It's not about your farm also. He knows about that pond, and he tells you what is the improvement action. So this can provide you a better profit, and it can also give you better quality shrimp, and also eventually our farming output is going to grow high. Um, as I told you, the biggest impediment for any development is data. And right now we need to be embracing these data-driven decision supports, systems. And we should be able to optimize water quality, farm inputs, and also productivity. And then we can predict diseases well in advance. We'll be able to, put up mitigation strategies for the same thing. So when I talk about, see, this is a work that has just begun, and if you're talking about like whether you'll be able to predict this is with 100% accuracy, no, we are nowhere getting close to 100%. We are getting close to 50% or 60%. So we need more and more farm data. See, we need to educate that machine, and once you educate that machine, that can tell you the right answer. But we are not able to educate that machine because there is a very low data collection that is happening on the ground. So but we are just hoping that we will be able to uh, get through about close to 70-75% accuracy in a period of another 2 years. So that's the kind of modest prediction that we have about the accuracy of our system. So what it could do is the kind of systems that we had developed. I'm not only advocating for our own systems. I'm talking about anywhere, like if you're talking about using this AI-enabled production technologies, you can improve about 20% of survival, and you can optimize your feed conversion ratio. 1.2 is a very idealistic number. Even if you can get to 1.3 or 1.4, I would be happy about that kind of an achievement. So production cost can be like reduced to 15%. This can be this is possible because if you are going to reduce your feed conversion ratio, if you're going to optimize your feed conversion ratio, it is actually going to result in better lowering production cost. And at least we should be looking at improving 3 tons by adopting these kind of technologies. As I told you, the Indonesia is going anywhere between like 15 to 23 tons of production by hectare. We are only be able to do about 7 tons a hectare in an average. So there would be like isolation. There would be many farmers who would have achieved more than that, but I'm talking about averaging it out. So we should be able to get plus 3 tons per hectare by improving our technology adoption. So resilient producers. So we talked about the production mechanism, how it can be improved through technology. Producers are the one who are always getting into the trouble in aquaculture industry because it is about they do not get formal credit from any of the banks. They'd have to go through the local middlemen, and they often, due to the low tech adoption and unscientific practices, they are the one who would be running into the losses. So to become to make them resilient, what we should be able to do is we should use this data that we have now, and we can create scores that is credit worthiness score. In our terms, like before you get any credit card, they will be looking into if you are in urban region, like if you are working in some organization, if you want to get a credit card, uh, like when you apply, they will be running through the CIBIL score for before they issue a credit card to you. So that is something like credit worthiness score for you. But the farmers, since they are disconnected from digital, they wouldn't be able to get that kind of a score. And we should be able to enable that through the data that we have. And two, we need to be also coming up with a risk score based on the practices that this farmer is doing. So if he is a high risk farmer, he doesn't use technology, he doesn't use a scientific process, and he's not going to get through the financial inclusion. So there is a nudge, there is an incentive for a farmer to adopt to scientific farming methods, right? Because if you do this, if you have technology implementation done at your farm, now you are eligible to get a bank loan. Instead of 60% of interest rate, now you'll be getting 15% to 20%, or even go lower like 12% interest rate from some of the players. So that is how we will be able to mitigate the risks. And the way we should be able to do that is by going a low cost technology, right? We need to come up with a low cost technology which any farmer can be using it, right? Any application that can sit on that 10,000 rupees smartphone, that's going to do your job, and you don't need actually a fancy sensor doing that job. We should find a way, operationally we should find a way that he gets we collect their data and we provide them insights. So this is the remote sensing and machine learning that I'm talking about. This is a screenshot from our from our application. So it actually monitors each and individual ponds there, and it talks about what is the total feed that's been used, what is the date of culture, what is the HCR range that they have, and is there any disease observation. So this is done through both remote sensing and boots on the ground approach. We have people on the ground to collect these data, as well as we are taking satellite imagery and analyzing the satellite imagery as well. Um, so access to finance. So we'll be able to data profiling this customer based on this particular pond. We'll be able to provide or not. I mean, you can take a decision whether to provide loan or not to provide this kind of a loan to the farmers. And while talking about resilient market, so we got to be talking about value addition. Like the Indian shrimp has gone into commodity. Like it is sold as a commodity, not as a product, high value product in the US or anywhere else. But take an example of Ecuadorian shrimp. Ecuador produces shrimp like us, but their shrimp is branded really well. Ecuadorian shrimps are scientifically produced, and it's like organic. So these are some of the terms, marketing terms that they have been using to promote it. But why we are not able to do that? So once you improve the value, even if your production cost is increasing, you will be able to get the same kind of a premium on selling those shrimp. So we need to rebuild the value chain. This is what I was talking about. We need to use this data, and we need to rebuild this whole value chain. We need to get towards to the premium, marketplace, not like commodity. We need to be talking about how do I create product out of raw shrimp. So if you are going to Thailand is actually producing a lot of, they are using food processing industry to produce a lot of value-added products out of shrimp. See, 1 kilogram of shrimp, like raw shrimp, will be costing you at the farm gate 350 rupees to 400 rupees. You make pickle out of that, right? It's going to cost you 250 grams of that one will cost you 600 rupees, right? So that's the kind of value addition that the market has to look into, and the technology plays a major role there, because I'm not only talking about data. I'm talking about traceability. With this data, we are going to come up with traceability. Uh, Hi, Inbakandan, do I have time? More time?
Yeah.
Sure. Please
Yeah.
let me know, like, when
No
I have.
problem. No problem. No problems. I can proceed. Yeah.
Right. So we need to talk about go to online market strategies, so that like we can connect directly the market, the farmers to the urban center. If you're talking about Fipola, if you're talking about this Fresh to Home, these are the online meat retail companies, right? So if you ever go and check the prices there, it is actually double the prices of what farmers would have sold them, right? That is the kind of potential that we have it in the domestic market itself. So we need to be exploring those kind of technology interventions, so that the farmers can take their produce from the farm to direct to the market, right? So finally, as I talked already several times, the traceability. So the traceability is improving the transparency of this whole value chain. So when the things are transparent, we don't need to actually bargain. Like if you are deserving some value, you would be able to get that value in the international market. So yeah, this is one quick slide that I would want to run you through how we are managing this technology adoption process. So we are having Swiggy for water quality diagnostic service, right? So a farmer need not come to a water quality diagnostic test. um, our runner boys, we call them runner boys, they like Swiggy delivery boys. They are tasked, assigned to certain farms. They'll have to go every week once. They'll have to collect all these water samples and take it to the partner labs, and there the testing will be done. The results will be uploaded in our tool in the diagnostics labs. So the water quality is done seamless, and the farmers have to pay nothing extra. So they are paying 300 rupees for water quality test. They'll have to pay the same 300 rupees. We are not disrupting anything. We are not asking him to buy anything new also. But we got the water quality data. And there are two other data input that they have to give: how much feed that they are feeding every day, and what is the growth that they are posting. So this is like a WhatsApp interface. You can just type in value and then send it. So once we collate all this data, this comes and sits in our uh, cloud database. So this is actually going to give a lot of inferences to the farmers. So they have the application. Previously, the water quality would be water quality diagnostic would happen like this. Like he would collect some used water bottle in the farm. He would fill the water. He would start his bike and go like 5 kilometers to drop it in the lab. And in the evening he'll have to go and collect it again. But right now it will come as soon as the results are entered. It's going to come as a notification to you. It is not only going to come as a notification, it's going to tell you what you should be doing with that notification. So that is the kind of improvement that we were able to manage through this kind of a on ground intervention also. So don't, like, we are not sitting idle saying that we have developed the technology, somebody will use it. No, it's not going to work in India. Like, as I told you already, there is a very low tech adoption. We need to go via this route so that we be able to improve the technology adoption. So let me quickly run through these slides. So yeah, this is the last technology adoption part. So there is a steep learning curve. There is a low awareness in the farm, and there is a high capital investment. These are the major challenges that we have, right? So let's understand how India thinks and works, right? We are a simple ABC country. Whatever products that were built around these three will be like a huge hit. I'm talking about astrology. I'm talking about Bollywood. Don't take it just Bollywood. It's Kollywood, Nollywood, what all the woods put together. And there is cricket. So whatever products were built around this, people have taken that. So we need to be able to get these essence from why these domains have become successful. So, and also there is another trend that like you would have seen this kind of wayfinding. Like you want to go to Porur, you will not just go by the map. You will stop at a tea shop and then you will be asking like, boss, how do I go to this address, right? So this, there is still this human angle to it. Even if you have Geo 4G and you have smartphone, you would want to still ask someone, where is this place, right? So that is again, it is embedded into our genes. And there are like what, 25 official languages and then 1,000 other dialects of it. So that is India for us. And how do we actually work with this kind of a marketplace? We need to be like providing solutions in their local languages too. So that is when we can improve the tech adoption. And we should also charges for a cab. Um, Inbakandan, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible,
You're
sir.
audible. You're
Sorry,
audible, sir.
sorry, the screen froze for me for a minute. So I was talking about shared economy, right? 10 years
Yeah.
ago, you would have to afford this kind of one car for a whole day. But right now, what happens is, pay 100 rupees, point A to B, and once he drops you, he doesn't know who you are and you don't know who he is, right? So it is something like, this car has been used by 20 people per day. So he got his revenue, the driver got his revenue, and you got your convenience and low cost also. So the way we need to define technology is, we need to define technology as shared resource. So one technology can be used by 30 farms or 50 farms, so that the cost of the technology can go down. So these are some of the business strategies that we devise so that we could deliver low cost technology interventions to the farmers. So I talked about this, like we promote all these on ground connect as well. With just technology, things are not going to work. You need to put a face to a technology, and these are our aquaculture officers who put the face to the technology. And I would just, I'm about the fag end of the slide, so I would just want to leave it with this thought on pricing the product. So if you are walking into a supermarkets in US or any other developed country, the shampoo bottle that you get would be about like this big size, 1 liter or 2 liter always. You will not be finding these small shampoo bottle. But when they introduced in India, like I'm talking about some 20 years ago or something, like when they introduced shampoo and all in India, it wasn't really a success initially, because they just copied those products and they brought it to India even without changing the shape of it. What sold in India was this, right? You give like 1 liter, 2 liter bottle, nobody is going to buy. So you got to be coming up with smaller sachet, like 1 rupee, 2 rupees. So this is the volume market that we are talking about. Here, value doesn't, sell. So volumes do sell, but with technology, who used this concept was the Airtel and Aircels of the world, because the telephony charges were really high. So they came about, India was one of the lowest tariff country for the telecom. Like you can, get a 10 rupee recharge done, which was not possible in any other country. So these kind of examples were followed in most of these industries. FMCG, that is shampoo or fast moving consumer goods. In telecom, they brought down the cost of the recharge. So it was, now you see that anyone uses these kind of technologies. Technology adoption was really quicker in telecom, mobile technology. So with that, I would just leave one more thought, that technology players like us, we need to be also providing freemium. Freemium is something like, the product is free, the basic product is free, and there is a standard, there is a plus product, right? So everyone can use the basic product. Facebook is a basic product for you, Google search is a basic product for you, but they are having the data intelligence. With the data intelligence, they would be able to upsell and cross sell. So going back to that question of how do we solve this technology adoption problem, because creating technology is much simpler, but adoption is much driving adoption is much difficult task. So any technology provider, even you may be starting up some technology company over the year, um, and you should be actually keeping this in your mind, saying that always the users first, and the users want simple, affordable, superior technology. So we were able to achieve this by having these business strategies inbuilt. Thank you very much for listening. Now, I would be happy to take your question. In case if I had gone wrong in any of these uh, prediction on the farm level aspects, please do enlighten me on that. Thank you.
Thanks for the wonderful talk, sir. Sheshatri sir, if you are there, kindly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sheshatri sir, are you
Yeah,
there?
yes, I'm here, sir. Good
Ask him
morning.
to.
Good morning, Mr.
Sir, please,
Rajamanohar.
sir, please, sir.
Yes, sir,
Sir,
good
your
morning.
voice is not audible, sir.
Is it not clear? Hello?
So, can you speak little bit louder, sir?
Is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Good morning, all. Good morning, Mr. Rajamanohar. This is Seshadri. Thing is, it was a very nice talk, and you have given a lot of insights for more aquaculturists to absorb. See, if you compare in general, I just want to get your observations also in this. In general, if you see Indian agriculture, Indian aquaculture, Indian medical system, all these things are flooded by spurious products. And that is the one mostly derails the entire ecosystem and puts people into jeopardy also. I mean, the entire what I would say vertical into jeopardy. So in this case, in your presentation also you said there is a problem of getting finance for the small farmers. One, and second thing, there is a low adoption of technology. Second, And third thing, if you go to the field, most of the aquaculture farmers are taken for ride by the spurious sellers of the products with high premium rates. Most of the time it goes to 50-50 commission basis. In such a case, I'm just asking you, is it possible for us to make a consortium to help these farmers? May, for example, you have this Connect and Center for Ocean Research. Of course, part of this is Sathyabama Technology Business Incubator. So we can try to connect at least 15 or 20 or 25 small farmers and try to give a kind of assurance, technology assurance, quality assurance, all these things. And we can bring in the financial organization. That part I will talk to the people and come back to you also. Maybe in Tamil Nadu, other area, Andhra Pradesh, part of Andhra Pradesh, we can sit and discuss with people and see whether we can kind of create a kind of alliance to help these small farmers to make big profits.
Sir, I concur with your thought completely. Let me give you what is actually going on the ground as well. So we have been like seeing improvements for the past 1 year. So we have been working with close to 13,500 farmers across three geographies, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, as well as Gujarat. As we speak, we are now working on identifying these spurious products that you mentioned. The way we are trying to do is through crowdsourcing. So when you are buying things on Amazon, right? In Amazon, you would be like seeing the rating and buying it, right?
Mm.
So we need to create a non-partisan system. Even that should not be created by AquaConnect, or that should not be created by any party. What I would say is let the user rate that product by themselves,
Mm.
right? If 13,000 farmers are rating such a product which is not actually working, which is not actually delivering goods, right?
Mm.
That is actually a crowd-driven, crowd-driven rating system. So most of these online players use that crowdsourced rating, whether it is the Oyo room, whether it is Ola, whether it is Uber. Uber actually rates both passenger as well as the driver, right?
Right.
So we need to come up with see more. My idea is not to centralize. My idea is to give the power to the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I'm coming to that only. Thing is, we are taking small farmers and empowering them through these platforms. That's all. It is
I
not converging people together. Only thing we need to say how small farms can make profits out of getting good or right advice from the research centers and also people working in this ecosystem, kind of
totally.
people like you or financial institutions or from the even I would say the retired scientists who are really towards this. Maybe we can try to take them also on board. Ultimately our interest should be to showcase how small farmers, small aquaculture farmers also can get benefit out of this efforts. That's all.
I completely agree with you, sir. I'm looking forward to expand that discussion with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anu, we can go for the, thank you, sir. Thank you, Shishadri, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anu, we can go for the a question answer session.
Yes, sir. Thank you for a
Yeah.
wonderful presentation, sir. There are many compliments from the participant that is an informative presentation and knowledgeable presentation, and it's simple too, simple and clear. So, shall we proceed with the question and answer session, sir?
Sure.
Yes. There is a question from a participant that is there any technology to monitor stocking density or survival at any time during the culture? Just farmers are blindly predicting the stock and culturing, which have huge impact on expenditure.
Yes, there are, there's density measurement technologies available. As I told you about that Norwegian salmon culture example, in a cage, right, in a mid-sea cage, at any given time, they are even getting to the salmon. They are naming that salmon as Suresh. I can do that, right? The moment I can get to that level, I know exactly what is the biomass in that, what is the stocking density and everything. But they are using, multiple cameras in that cage, like 100 plus cameras, and then actively, monitoring there. And every feed, pellet goes down, they know exactly whether it's been consumed or not. So that is the kind of precision, diagnostics technologies they have, analytics technologies that they have. It's possible in India, but imagine we have another set of problem that salmon is sold for like 1500 rupees, 1500 rupees per kilo, or 2000 rupees per kilo, shrimp will only give you 400 rupees per kilo, right? So that is for shrimp. We don't have any cold water species. Cold water species are the very expensive ones. We have all the warm water species. Um, so it is not actually, I wouldn't advise you to, invest that much of money into that kind of a technology. And farmers, they know that.
Anu,
Thank you, sir.
Anu,
Yes, sir.
1 minute, Anu. Dr. Manoj sir, are you there, sir? I need a few words from you, sir. Dr. Manoj sir?
Hello. Hello.
Please, good morning, sir.
Is it Dr. Manish Sharma, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Yes, but I'm right now at outside, so I couldn't have that connection, Rajamanohar, to be on video online.
Sir, what
But,
a privilege! What a privilege that you are listening to me.
No. It's a privilege for me to listen to such a advanced system which you are working very hard from last 2 years. Definitely, yes. I'm always a big fan of you, Raja, and been listening to you very carefully. And yes, those people who are listening to you and the audience right now, yes, the platform is not ready for India because 90% of the farmer are below 3 hectare. But this is future. What Raja is saying is future. Then if you want to really look into, because we're 99% we're dependent upon export market. So unless and until we have a true and authentic data from the ground level, and data will not even help in the production or the sustainability or even knowing the production problems and all. But it will be a great help for the end market, because it will be complete from your pond to your plate kind of concept, where your each and every data will be very available. So I request Aqua Connect and entire team that, this is a very right time, because many questions in the box I was seeing that people talk about affordability, whether this app can be afforded, or even Mr. Aqua Connect and Rajamanohar himself can, long term, he can run the company without making profits. So I think Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana and the officers and the implement agencies should think that this is a good concept, very scientific concept. Here, Dr. Inba, I'd like to tell to the industry, which really surprised me, Rajman. See, sometimes, most of the time, then there is always a blame game that farmer are not aware, because I'm always a very pro-farmer person, because I'm a farmer myself. Because I don't like when people blame farmer. If farmer doesn't do this and right. But I want to tell by this program that, see, when you are each and every hatcheries, 500 hatchery seed can go to a smallest pond. Your truck of harvest can go to the smallest pond. Your feed truck can go to that smallest pond. Your technician can go to the smallest pond. But that I get really amused that your good brochure, good knowledge cannot go to that farmer. So this is very important for the business of the farmer. You can reach him. For the sake of knowledge, you don't want to reach him. And always blame game. So I think this is a very good point. I believe that the government should incorporate such Aqua Connect and all on a very big subsidy level. So it can be a win-win situation for the company to run and also to the farmers, because in terms it is going to benefit the 40,000 crore industry. When we are planning to double it, we cannot double it without having a proper authentic data to study. But there are also, I also suggest Rajamanohar, we have to see whatever presentation you are doing, such a wonderful concept, but it should be farmer friendly. The feeding of data will be very easy, because 90% of farmers are very small, marginal, and they are not equipped with advanced technology. Though even the poorest poor farmer, or even the labor who is working with you, definitely might be having a 10,000 rupees smartphone. So the last 10 years or so, people have become very advanced to technology. Even a 3-year-old boy can use the smartphone these days. So I think using our app and feeding the data shouldn't be a very big problem. But the easy formatting and the easiness of feeding data is of paramount importance to me. And I wish all the luck and hard work, because I have gone through his very sentimental story that how he came into this business, because he has seen eyes full of tears. So I'm a farmer, and Rajamanohar, you have seen it once, but I see on daily basis these days how much farmers are losing and how it goes, because 90% of our system is self-finance, and farmers generally put everything as a gamble, right from their wife's Mangal Sutra to their home and everything, and try to get into the shrimp farming. So this is the need of the hour, and this will strengthen each and everything, right from processing, producer to the processing. So I wish all the best, and to Rajamanohar. It was educating listening to you, Rajamanohar. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
Manoj
for
sir.
that,
Thank you.
for that wonderful closing remark, Manoj Sharma sir. Because I wasn't expecting you to be listening to my presentation, because as I always say, like you have been the forerunner into this domain. For the past 4 years, I've been like watching your I've been a huge fan too. So thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you, sir.
Manoj sir. Yeah.
Shall we proceed with the
Yeah,
question
please, please,
session?
please, please, please.
Yes. And there is a question from Mr. Ramachandran. How expensive it would be to have a real-time monitoring system in ponds?
No, I think Manoj sir have explained it proper in a very
Yes,
well
sir.
manner. Anyway,
Yes, sir.
we will see Raj sir view also. Yeah.
See, it depends on, again, it's going to be, it depends, right? So there are like 6 or 7 parameters real-time monitoring that can happen through the optical sensors, which might be costing you anywhere between 3 to 4 lakhs, and anywhere it can go up to 6 lakh also, based on the producers, right? So and if you want in a comprehensive water quality testing, so that cannot be done to the real-time monitoring. So real-time monitoring can give you DO, real-time monitoring can give you the other few parameters, but not all parameters. So it is only in a high density environment you need that kind of a real-time monitoring. For low dense, you can actually manage without that.
Anu, as we
Thank
are
you, sir.
running short
Yes,
of
sir.
time, we,
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Breaking.
just participants, you are requested to connect to. Hello.
Yes, sir. Now it's
Hello.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Clear
Now
now?
it's audible, sir. Yes, sir.
As we are running short of time, I request the participant to connect to Raja sir. Communication details. Sir, Raja sir, I want your email address in the screen on your number.
Dr. Inba, the best thing would be like reaching out to me over LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you please type Rajamanohar Aqua Connect. You will find the LinkedIn link, so you'll be able to connect with them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Actually, the one thing I want to pinpoint here is that actually such kind of technique will help in situation as we are facing now in the pandemic situation, because we can't go from our home to any part of the other thing. If a farmer he want to manage his farm in such kind of COVID situation, if he is using your tool, means definitely he will be benefited. That's what which came into my mind. So thanks for this wonderful and technical presentation, and I am really thankful to Dr. Sheshadri sir who is listening to this session, as well as to Manoj Kumar sir who joined us and gave some few words about the session. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot to all the participants, and thank you, Raja sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.